Today, I'm going to be picking up Chris Camacho. Chris is the CEO of the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. Hi, I'm Lev Gonick, Chief Information Officer at Arizona State University. Carpool Convos is an opportunity for us to invite technology leaders, civic leaders, and other innovators to talk about the intersection of technology and the future. Oh, here he is now. Let's go pick him up and see what he and GPEC are up to. Chris, why don't we just sort of start by you sharing with folks who tune into Carpool Convos a little bit about yourself and a little bit about GPEC, the Greater Phoenix Economic Council.
Yeah, Lev, thanks for having me. This is my 21st year here in Arizona.
Wow.
And just have seen incredible change in this economy. What a place to live, what a place to be right now. GPEC sits us at this nexus between industry that's ready to disrupt, academia that's ready to support that disruption and perform the basic and applied research, and government, which is the policy enabling body. And I believe our job, my job as the head of GPEC, is to force action.
That's great, Chris. And I know we both come from the Midwest, so it's a very different kind of mindset. I think you'd probably agree here in Phoenix.
The reason I use the term region and smart region, most places in the United States don't have 22 public jurisdictions coordinated, working together, sitting in a room. I had the mayors and supervisors this week on a call talking about a slew of topics, and we're not making decisions in a parochial manner. We're doing so in a region-wide, system-level design thinking models.
This is one of the pieces of secret sauce that defines this sort of willingness to actually work together, not just talk together, but to work together. You're responsible for helping attract and retain companies. I think since you've been in the chair, over 600 companies have come here, including some really big ones. Maybe you want to share a little bit of some of those stories around the role that you and GPEC play to attract great technology companies.
There's been a rich history, 75 plus years of technology development here, dating back all the way to Motorola. We've obviously in the 1970s were successful in recruiting Intel. And then more recently, in the last 10 years, there's been absolute technology boom, and everything from TSMC to Amkor to many other companies that have made major announcements here. Just in semiconductors alone, there's been over $100 billion of announced investments since 2020. And we're coming off the heels of the major federal lab investment with NSTC and advanced packaging right here at ASU at the research park. So incredible excitement.
Yeah, it's really quite remarkable to see. It's sort of, I know it's not from 0 to 100, but maybe you can sort of just share the semiconductor story. Feels like an overnight success, but it sounds like it's probably 25 years in the making.
At least. I mean, I look at, this takes truly an ecosystem of assets, whether it's physical infrastructure, water, wastewater, city planning, certainly having some incumbents like Intel and others that have continuously invested here, but we have to have labor supply. You have to have modern infrastructure. You have to have federal and state policy to support these industries. We've announced 40 companies since 2020.
That's amazing.
8,000 jobs have been announced, and there's so much more to come. So certainly quantum, this nexus with AI, I'd even draw a bridge into the future of energy infrastructure because it's all tied together. And probably overlaying that is everything electrification. It's really the integration of all of these areas. And so that's one thing I think we do well as a market. We're kind of like a test bed, a proving grounds of sorts. The new age is going to be about making sure we have the appropriate level of conduit, the level of fiber connectivity, and that kind of speed of transmission of data all plays into this. So mission critical facilities, the types of momentum that we're saying, this is a ground zero for AI driven activity.
In some ways back this up here, we're sitting in the back seat of the autonomous vehicle, as we were saying a little bit earlier on. I think it's part of the illustration that we don't rest on our laurels and we keep building on top of it and thinking about the infrastructure that's required. Talk a little bit about that moment in time and again, the role that you played and your team played in attracting basically autonomous vehicles and the work that brought Google and ultimately Waymo here.
I think it goes back to this kind of working with industry, working with academia, working with government, and I recall several conversations back in 2015. It's hard to believe 10 years ago now, but Governor Doug Ducey and his vision around utilizing this kind of open regulatory framework, inducing industry to test and validate their technologies, whether it's in autonomous vehicles or in fintech and blockchain and all these other technologies that evolve. And back then, he aggressively put an executive order in place that allowed this initial testing. And companies like Waymo, had been traversing these other markets, trying to figure out how do we get into these testing modalities. And ultimately, we were the market that embraced them, took them to scale, and now, this is the most widely test-driven market in the country. And that ultimately jumpstarts you into what we're seeing in present day, which is right down the road, Amazon is doing in Towson drone delivery with packaging. And most people will see that in 5 years and say, well, that was novel in 2025.
Chris, one of my other guests in the back of the Carpool Convos was Mayor Gallego.
We are the largest autonomous vehicle region in the world, which is exciting. I love it when we're known for advanced technology, particularly technology that puts safety and sustainability at the forefront. It was a real point of pride for me when Sky Harbor Airport became the first airport in the world where someone could take an autonomous vehicle.
And she was actually commenting on the same kind of importance of not only experiencing this kind of AI, the physical AI, obviously this autonomous vehicle, but talking about autonomous drones, working with industry to create not only packaging delivery, but also things like environmental scanning, helping with traffic control and all kinds of things. President Michael Crow shared yesterday that we're very close at ASU to graduating 40,000 students on an annual basis, which is remarkable. As you look at the job market that these students will be entering into, what are some of the key messages for the graduating class who have spent 4 or 5 years here with us about the opportunities that they have right here in Greater Phoenix?
Well, first of all, I tip my cap to ASU's evolution, and 40,000 students is remarkable. And I would argue that's been the key linchpin to our economic success and growth, has largely been the talent pipelines that are aligned with where the markets are going. And no one can refute that. I think as these students are coming through the system, what's different about today's Metro Phoenix versus 20 years ago is the jobs exist here. The jobs of tomorrow are here. And whether they're AI enabled, they're in fintech, they're in software, we are seeing disruptive companies get launched here. We're seeing companies from around the world with global footprint move here. We're seeing the Greater Phoenix region materially matter to the nation's gross domestic product. That wasn't the case 20 years ago. So if you're a graduate of one of the schools at ASU, you're going to enter an opportunity where you're going to be in high demand, and we have the jobs of tomorrow ready to fulfill whatever desire you have. So I hope they stay here in Phoenix and grow and scale their career here.
All right, all you Sun Devils, you heard it here from Chris Camacho, the president and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. Chris, thanks so much for hanging out with me today in Carpool Convos.